Cowboys fans, Cowboy Nation, what's going on? Hopefully today is a little bit better mood for you guys. Obviously, the Dallas Cowboys are not going to be continuing in the postseason, and we are now having to be forced to watch some of these other teams continue on their journey. But the Dallas Cowboys, of course, will always still have something going on in the news, and that is to no surprise, obviously. But what is a surprise, and I don't want to really even call it a surprise, you never know, Jerry Jones, Stephen Jones, they love familiarity. They love, whether you're looking for success or not, they love guys that they know they have some rapport with. And you're looking at now, Mike McCarthy will be returning to the Dallas Cowboys in 2024. This is going to be now a staff where we're looking and going to say, hopefully, there are going to be some new guys. I'm going to say some new pieces just added to this staff, because the Dallas Cowboys have got to be more innovative. They got to be more creative, and they've got to figure out what they can do, what they can add, what they can bring in 2024, so we do not have a repeat of what we unfortunately just had to witness from this Dallas Cowboys team. Now again, Mike McCarthy returning to the team, who's, of course, I believe now today he was had his press conference again, and now you're looking at Mike McCarthy pretty much throughout the conference is being asked some questions. Of course, obviously the failure of the Dallas Cowboys, why they were not able to just keep going, and why they were not able to capitalize on the opportunity that was laid out in front of them. And Mike McCarthy pretty much talks about, he feels like this is a culture, a championship culture that has been built here, but it's just not a world championship culture yet, which is not good to hear, because we're at the end of the day, Mike McCarthy was brought here to do one thing, and that was to lead the Dallas Cowboys to a playoff success. Now going into the 5th year and the final year, I will add, let's be clear, it is the final year of Mike McCarthy's contract with the Dallas Cowboys, the 5th season. This is going to be, me, in my personal opinion, I think it's going to be one of those all or nothing type seasons. We've seen Jerry Jones, of course, we know there are some guys out there on the market, the coaching market, and potential guys that you could be looking at as offensive coordinators, defensive coordinators to possibly interview. But a guy like Jerry Jones, we know Jerry Jones, Stephen Jones, that committee, they love to kind of keep some guys in the house until they absolutely have to make a move. And we see Mike McCarthy, he's in the final year of his contract. So I'm going to say once again, to me, this is an all or nothing type season. He will be blamed if the Cowboys don't reach a Super Bowl. I'm not talking about get to an NFC Championship game, anything short of at least getting to a Super Bowl, and Mike McCarthy will not be returning with the Dallas Cowboys. I feel like I can almost guarantee that. We do know, of course, it's always up in the air. Jerry Jones, Stephen Jones, you never know how exactly they will finally choose to do things. But at the end of the day, I do feel like this is an all or nothing type situation for Mike McCarthy. Let's be clear, I also feel like he is hitched to Dak Prescott. Dak Prescott having one of his better seasons, obviously second seasons in total touchdown passes. I believe he had a season with 37 and 11 touchdown to interception ratio. But this one, if he did not sit out all these fourth quarters, we're looking at Dak Prescott throwing for over 40 touchdown passes, something like that. Of course, no one cares about the regular season, but that's also going to be a reason why I felt this coaching staff, especially more so Mike McCarthy, would have probably been brought back. Albeit, one of the biggest things that he could not do was have an absolute blemish of a game, as the Dallas Cowboys did in this Packers game, this playoff game. But Mike McCarthy, he does have an offense that I feel like the Jerry Jones and Stephen Jones, he probably could have been talking to. They could have potentially been talking to a little bit, just allowing him to see where that can go with another year of development and seeing if we can finally reach some expectations. But again, I'm in the mindset of I don't have any high expectations for this team going forward. They're going to have to show me. I'm on that part of the fan base right now. You're going to have to show me before I put any real faith behind what this team is doing. But as always, we will support it. But if you're going to be looking for just the major issue, we're going to have to solidify and fix this run game. That to me is one of the bigger issues. We could talk about Mike McCarthy, the passing game, some things opened up, the failures we saw some from the same offensive game earlier, especially more in the first half in this Packers game. The run game to me is what needs to be fixed the most. If Mike McCarthy can somehow figure out I don't care if we're looking at just a new set of eyes. They have got to figure out kicking the tires around on some ideas and what's going to work. Mike McCarthy, I think he also said he had a few hours of an interview with just Jerry Jones. And when everyone left, it's just the two of them, and he's being asked hard questions by Jerry Jones. And obviously they probably felt maybe it's worth just giving one more year. At the end of the day, it's the final year of his contract. If things are not, I'm talking like real success is not shown, Mike McCarthy's going to find his way out of the door, and we'll be doing this again, trying to figure out where exactly we're going to find our new coach. It could be one of these young offensive coordinators, which is a guy I was highly interested in the Dallas Cowboys. Bobby Slovic, from the offensive coordinator for the Houston Texans, formerly of the Kyle Shanahan tree. We've seen some of these guys moving around a little bit. I wanted to see what exactly we could potentially bring in, but knowing Mike McCarthy will be back again, we're going to be able to, again, now kind of bottle up some of these emotions and let them all out, because we do know at the end of the day, Cowboys fan base right now is pretty down. We're talking about just on where the team is going to go in the trajectory. We do know we have all the talent in the world. We have all these players that we can call Pro Bowlers and All Pro, but at the end of the day, we cannot finish the job, and we need to figure out what exactly that is. And I feel like obviously a lot of people believe the common denominator is Jerry Jones. This has been almost 30 years since the Dallas Cowboys have had real championship success, and obviously when you do things one way and you repeatedly do them the same way and nothing ever new comes from it, of course you're going to have lots of questions, and the fan base itself is going to start to question you. But we're now going to say Mike McCarthy's coming back in 2024. At the end of the day, whether we like it, whether we don't like it, that's just the way it's going to be. Of course, the next biggest question obviously is going to be, and I could say probably the biggest question, we saw what exactly came from the same issues that we saw on the defensive side of the ball. Dan Quinn was one of the worst games I've seen him coach. And one of those issues I saw was that sometimes you'll watch Dan Quinn and he will not make adjustments when the game plan calls for it. When all of a sudden we're not getting, I guess, finding the success on the defensive side of the ball that we're accustomed to finding. It seems at some point, sometimes Dan Quinn can just continue to run. I guess you want to say run into a brick wall. That's essentially what it seemed like happened in this playoff game against the Packers. So you're gonna and then now you're hearing rumblings about apparently, of course, the Cowboys play lots of single high safety man coverage type kind of cover zero type defense, and the Dallas Cowboys have done that a lot this past season. But for some reason, Dan Quinn did not feel going to the postseason, into the Packers game more specifically, that's what the Cowboys could have used and found some success. So he decided to change the entire game plan. That's what's being thrown around a little bit now. And of course, you saw lots of blown coverages, lots of confusion, lots of mistakes from that secondary especially. And you have to ask yourself, could that have played a major part in it? And if it is, that's going to be even more detrimental to Dan Quinn, because we're talking about the postseason. At this point, you should not be completely changing things. You should be using at what you're the best at, because at the end of the day, if the Dallas Cowboys were playing their best game with what we do best on both sides of the ball, I don't feel like the Cowboys are losing a game that they literally should have had in the bag. And we're talking about in the bag, of course, that's always on paper. You have to handle your business on the field. But the Dallas Cowboys, if we just handled our business and did what we were supposed to do, the Dallas Cowboys win this game by 3 points, 7 points, 1 point. I don't care. But at the end of the day, things were not done the way they should have been done. Adjustments were not made, and you saw exactly what that led to. The Dallas Cowboys being knocked out once again in the wild card round. Didn't even get to the divisional round this year, which all the jokes usually come from as well. So now Dan Quinn, where exactly is his future going to head? You're talking about, I think Dan Quinn up to this point, he's supposed to have a total of 5 interviews for these head coaching vacancies. I believe as of now, like I said, I believe he has 5 total, but as of now, I believe he's completed 2. I think it was the Panthers, and with the Titans, he's interviewed with already. And so the Dallas Cowboys are now, you're being, like I said, this press conference that Mike McCarthy was just holding, he's been asked these tough questions, and I believe it's asked of him what exactly is going to be Dan Quinn's future if he's not able to find a head coaching job this offseason. And Mike McCarthy pretty much lets it be known Dan Quinn is a very valued and essential part of this coaching staff, and it's to believe, also reported by Ed Werder of ESPN, that Dan Quinn is expected to be back if he is not able to find a head coaching job or able to get a head coaching job this offseason. So Cowboys fans, that could be another, I guess you want to say, brutal blow to maybe your expectations or hope for just something new and hope for something different. I'm going to say right now, the best way to alleviate some of these issues is just to continue to add talent. If we have some issue and some concern with the scheme, my biggest bet is to what you're going to have to do is just to throw in as many weapons as you can that can kind of slow down some of those issues. At the end of the day, Dan Quinn, if he is able to return, and if he is going to be the guy to return, the Cowboys fan base in general, they know going into next season, there are going to be so many eyes on Mike McCarthy and Dan Quinn. If we are not finding success early and often, there are going to be so many rumblings from the beginning of the season. And we know the Dallas Cowboys winning the NFC East and winning the division, whether it's a good thing, end up being a bad thing, we're going to have a tougher schedule next year. So the Dallas Cowboys are not going to have anybody that's going to pretty much try to take it easy on them, cut them any slack. You know, the media is going to be on this team even harder, and we could pretty much be 17-0, and you're still going to have many doubts from the fan base, from the media, everything above. So the Dallas Cowboys, if we're talking about bringing back Mike McCarthy and Dan Quinn, no one's happy about it right now in the fan base, and I'm sure I can speak for a lot of people. But if that's the way it's going to be, we're either going to support it or we're not going to support it. But I'm going to be here to talk about it. I'm going to be here to continue to throw out some news as it comes, because the Dallas Cowboys are always going to have it. You know that is for sure. Mike McCarthy, like I said, also once again, he's being asked about. Jane Slater, I believe, in the press conference, asked Mike McCarthy, what exactly what are you going to say to this fan base? Why should they buy in? And he says, because he was not brought here to not win championships. He was not brought here just for regular seasons. He was brought here to win a Super Bowl. And that sounds like fool's gold at this point, because we haven't seen anything that's going to be, I'm going to say outside or other than the regular season. We haven't seen anything that has kind of given us a lot to believe in some real postseason success. But if Mike McCarthy stands on what he's talking about, you're brought here to bring a Super Bowl to the city of Dallas. Obviously, there are going to be a few tweaks and turns and changes I potentially believe could happen. Whether that's just bringing in another consultant, somebody else that can kind of have another set of eyes, give a different opinion on some of these adjustments. But also, this is going to be an entire offseason of this offense being under the tutelage of Mike McCarthy, and Dak Prescott being right there, and these guys are going to have to come up with something that's going to be consistent. Because what we did see, and I said our passing game, as explosive as it was, sometimes it felt like this passing game was not actually built to be a straight passing offense. Especially, we can talk about the changes made after the LA Chargers game. We talk about some of the changes that happened around that time, but this offense still, to me, at some point, you could see Mike McCarthy wanted to be a running team at certain points. You can see he still tried to throw in the running game, and it was to the detriment of this team a lot of times. But going to this offseason, whatever we're going to do, we need to lean into it heavily. If we're going to be a passing offense, I want us to be an aggressive passing offense. I want us coming in games, getting after teams from the very beginning. If we're going to be an attacking defense, I want Dan Quinn to be that. We cannot continue to change around, take your weapons out of what they are best at. Again, some of the inexcusable issues we saw in this Packers game, Micah Parsons being used in pass coverage, that has never been Micah Parsons' game. Why are we doing this all of a sudden in the postseason? It's time to stick to what we know, master what we're very good at. Hopefully now we're going to be able to get a healthy Trayvon Diggs back. Hopefully we're going to be able to add some talent in the draft, in the offseason, because this team has holes. They're not blaring holes everywhere, but some of our holes are big holes. So the Dallas Cowboys have got to lock in. But if this coaching staff is going to return, Mike McCarthy and Dan Quinn, we have no one to blame. They have no one. They have no one to blame. There's nobody to take any of the excuses, because you do know, again, this fan base is going to come in rabid. The Dallas Cowboys fan base is going to be very aggressive next year when it comes to keeping eyes on Mike McCarthy, Dan Quinn, and the rest of this roster in general. So everybody better come in ready, because we do know the NFL draft is going to be coming around the corner in April 25th to the 27th. So now you're going to see if all this is just more talk. We do know at this point, this is what a lot of us expect that it is, but if they're going to show something different, then I'm sure we'll be here to be watching it. So I appreciate you guys for all the support. Go ahead and let me know down below in the comment section, what do you guys think about Mike McCarthy, Dan Quinn? I'm sure a lot of you are not happy about it, but give me your exact thoughts, because I want to know. I appreciate you guys for all the support. Go ahead and like, comment, subscribe, and share, and I hope you guys have a great rest of the week.